Hello, everyone. This is Bill Owen with today's podcast. The subject is famous dancers. Well, that should be kind of interesting as we look back at the famous names of the world of dance. I made up a list here of the top 10 male and female dancers, purely subjective. You could have a different list, but the one I think we would agree on for the most part, the most famous name in dancing would be Fred Astaire. Yeah, Fred Astaire. Not too much of an argument there as number one. Even his friend and rival, Gene Kelly, people used to debate who's better, Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire, but it's hard to compare the two. He said that the history of dancing on film begins with the man from Omaha. He was born as Frederick Austerlitz. He became Fred Astaire. He had a career as a dancer, choreographer, actor, and singer, spanning some 76 years. Think of that. Featured in 31 musicals, 10 of them with Ginger Rogers as his co-star. Oh, he was a perfectionist, according to Ginger. That 76-year career, she said that they would do what she considered a perfect take for the cameras, and then he would say, no, I did something wrong there. I want to do that over again. He started out actually with not Ginger as his partner, but his older sister Adele. And as a young boy in Omaha, Fred refused taking dancing lessons. He just didn't want to be involved with it. He took up the piano instead. Also played the accordion and the clarinet. All this career led to his hand and footprints being placed in the cement at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood in 1938. What a long career. They used to say that Cary Grant and Fred Astaire were the best-dressed movie actors of all. Well, sadly, Fred lost his first wife, Phyllis, after 21 years. Then there was a long gap, and he remarried at age 81. Remember who he married? The jockey, Robin Smith. She was actually 45 years younger. One thing about Fred Astaire I think about is he was so underrated as a vocalist. He could have had a shining career just with his vocals. Cheek to Cheek, you associate with Fred Astaire. Night and Day, Easter Parade, Putting on the Ritz. Let's Call the Whole Thing Off. You say pajamas, I say pajamas. Tomatoes, tomatoes. A Fine Romance. Top Hat, White Tie, and Tails. That's how you usually picture Fred Astaire, right? Another classic recording. They can't take that away from me. Fred Astaire. Well, and speaking of Ginger, we'll be mentioning more about the females later, but she was born as Virginia McMath. And you could call her the girl from Independence, as we refer to President Truman as the man from Independence. Actually, he only grew up in Independence. He was born 110 miles away in a Missouri town called Lamar. And as far as Ginger Rogers, she won an Oscar, but not for dancing. It was for pure acting, Best Actress of 1940. The story was Kitty Foyle, based on a well-known novel. And the plot involved Ginger having a dilemma whether to marry a doctor, a very respectable doctor, or her longtime love who is already married. And a spoiler, at the end she picks the doctor. Kitty Foyle. I have some friends who are very famous around the world as dancers, dance team. Stan and Judy Martin, they live in New Jersey. And they have performed such wonderful performances. And they give ballroom lessons now, and they hold dance parties in the New York metropolitan area. And they did what they call adagio dancing, which involves graceful movements, performances, lifts. Lifts is the key. And it's just a marvel to watch people like Stan and Judy on stage. They had quite a career. Among things, they played Carnegie Hall, various places around the world, were an opening act for Pearl Bailey for some time. And Judy told me one time that in adagio dancing, where Stan would do the lifting, she could actually prevent the lift by exerting downward pressure. She could refuse. He was very petite, is very petite, and Stan is not a huge man, but very strong, obviously, and it's just dazzling to watch the films of their lifting in the adagio. And Stan often talked about posture being so important in dancing, particularly in ballroom dancing. I took lessons for years. And that boils down to being, if there is a single secret, especially for the man to have that wonderful posture. You walk out on the floor and you don't have to dance a step if you hold your body erect, and people will look up and say, he must be a dancer. Just as I could be in the gym shooting baskets, I'd see somebody walking in holding a basketball, moving it from one hand to the other. I could tell just from across the gym whether he was a basketball player, just the attitude he had with the ball. Well, this adagio dancing had its roots way back to the middle of the 18th century. So very proud to be friends of Stan and Judy Martin. We're talking about the top 10 list. I put Václav Nijinsky at number 2. He was Russian-born, but he always considered himself to be Polish. And it was once said of Nijinsky that he could seemingly suspend himself in midair doing a ballet leap. He had such control on stage. Well, we've got Gene Kelly coming in at number 3, and then Mikhail Baryshnikov, who defected to Canada and then to the United States eventually, back in 1974, classical dancer, Mikhail Baryshnikov. Donald O'Connor for comedy dancing. Remember him in Singing in the Rain? And the Nicholas brothers, we have to mention. Bill Bojangles Robinson dancing with Shirley Temple, dancing up and down the stairway. Now, right behind Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly in the Hollywood version of dancing would be Gene Nelson. Never quite a superstar, but a fantastic performer. Made very many movies. Tommy Tune, famous on Broadway. And to get very modern, Michael Jackson we put in there at number 10. Oh, yes. Oh, there's some other names come to mind. Rudolph Nureyev, George Raft, who was the gangster in so many films and eventually became a gangster, but after having been a noted dancer on film. James Cagney, let's see, Buddy Ebsen, it just seemed to be made out of rubber, wasn't he? Ray Bolger, same thing. There was Mark Platt, John Travolta, Patrick Swayze, a meteoric career. George Murphy, who became a Republican senator from California. Wonderful dancer. Oh, there are so many great memories. And we're thinking about that. Oh, we can't go by dancers without mentioning the team of Vernon and Irene Castle. They just dominated American dancing in the 20s. He died in a plane crash. He was in the RAF World War I on a training mission with a student pilot teaching him, and that plane tragically crashed. He was only 30 years old. Vernon Castle from England, and married Irene Castle of New Rochelle, New York. What a great dancing team they were. Oh, let's see. We've got to talk about the women too. Yeah, here's our top 10 list. Let's see. Well, Ginger, we've already mentioned. We talked a lot about Ginger Rogers. Martha Graham, a classical dancer. Martha Graham. Modern dance. When you think of modern dance, you must think of Martha Graham. She taught and danced for more than 70 years. What a career. Coming in at number 3 among the female dancers is Anna Pavlova. And then the great Ann Miller, wasn't she wonderful on screen? And Sid Charisse, later married to Tony Martin. Remember her in Brigadoon, one of her great films. There was Eleanor Powell and Isadora Duncan. And the first major American ballerina was Maria Tallchief, a Native American woman. There was Marge Champion of the Champions, Marge and Gower Champion. Remember them in Showboat. Vera Ellen. Oh my! What other names come to mind? Juliet Prowse, Jennifer Lopez, Carmen Miranda. The fast talker, wasn't she wonderful? Carmen Miranda. Rita Hayworth. Now, Rita once said she considered herself a comedian primarily, but she was noted as a wonderful actress, a raving beauty, and of course a wonderful, wonderful dancer. Betty Grable, so many musicals. Leslie Caron and Moira Shearer. Well, there's our list of the great dancers. So many great memories, and it's such a pleasure to see the old MGM musicals when there were so many great dancers to enjoy. Well, it's always fun to reminisce with you, and I hope you enjoyed remembering some of the great dancers of all time.